This episode is sponsored by Katie Jordan. Hello and welcome back to Film Pro Productivity and Success, the podcast that helps film pros and other creative people, all creative people, we know that, don't we, to live a more focused, effective and happy life. My name is Carter Ferguson and this is episode 144. It's Occam's Razor. Make everything as simple as possible, but not simpler. Albert Einstein, unquote. And in last week's show, I talked about one of the most effective time management techniques of all time, and that is time blocking. Popular with billionaires like Elon Musk and Bill Gates, time blocking forces you to fill up your free time with pre-commitments and a plan of action. So as doing that, if I could speak properly, because by doing that, it prevents you from wasting precious time on a task. It's not going well, on a task that could be finished quicker, basically. So if you want to know more, go back and have a listen. I swear I do a better presentation of the episode than I did of the recap there. Today, though, I'm talking all about Occam's Razor, also known as the principle of parsimony, a problem-solving and reasoning principle that suggests that the simplest explanation or solution is often the most likely to be correct. And it's named after the philosopher William of Ockham, who simply said, plurality should not be posited without necessity. Yeah, it's a tricky one, that. Plurality should not be posited without necessity. It's a little bit archaic, but this is the fundamental statement which underlies Occam's Razor, and it suggests basically that when faced with multiple explanations or hypotheses, the simplest one should be preferred unless there is compelling evidence to choose elsewhere. And if you're having trouble twisting your melon round this one, then here are a couple of examples for you. So imagine you misplaced your keys and you can't find them. Instead of assuming some elaborate scenario like someone stole them or you put it in some complex hiding place, you might firstly apply Occam's Razor. You would start by considering the simplest explanation. Perhaps you left them in a common location that you use all the time, like in your bag or on a table or in the usual spot that you always hang them up. By first exploring the most straightforward and likely possibilities, you'll save time and effort before considering more complex explanations. And another simple example might be like when faced with heavy traffic during a commute to work, Occam's Razor might help you to determine the cause. Instead of attributing it to some elaborate reason like a major accident or a conspiracy to slow you down, you would first consider the simplest explanation, that it's typical rush hour congestion. By recognising that heavy traffic is a common thing to happen at that time of day, you will avoid unnecessary frustration and paranoia, I suppose, and accept that it is a natural consequence of peak travel. And these everyday examples demonstrate how Occam's Razor encourages us to prioritise simpler explanations before jumping to complex or extraordinary ones. By defaulting to the simplest and more likely explanation, you will make more efficient decisions, basically, and avoid unnecessarily complex worries and considerations. Entities should not be multiplied beyond necessity. William of Ockham, unquote. And that paraphrase of Occam's Razor underscores the principle that unnecessary complexity should be avoided. So when attempting to explain or understand a phenomenon, whatever that is, it's advisable to avoid introducing additional elements or assumptions unless absolutely necessary. And you've probably heard the phrase, the simplest explanation is usually the correct one. And that quote captures the essence of Occam's Razor, emphasising that simplicity often leads to truth. When confronted by competing explanations, the one that requires the fewest assumptions or complexities is more likely to be accurate. And this is all part of critical thinking, of course, which I've been touching upon in various episodes this season. That's the high-level thinking, in fact, that I talk about in episode 1 of the entire podcast. Karl Popper, great name by the way, a philosopher of science, echoed the sentiment of Occam's Razor in this quote. He said, "All other things being equal, the simplest solution is the best. When evaluating competing theories and hypotheses, the one that is simpler and requires fewer additional assumptions is generally favoured as the superior option. Are you getting it, folks? Are you catching what I'm talking about with Occam's razor? It's not a long episode, but it's an important thing to lock in there. Even Leonardo da Vinci got in on the act on this one when he said simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. So though it's not specifically about Occam's razor, that one, that aligns with the principle's core idea. It suggests that simplicity is a mark of elegance and refinement, and in problem solving or explanation it can lead to greater clarity and understanding. I do try and bring these shows into the area of creativity when I can, although a lot of these principles are general principles which can be applied to any aspect of life. But I did find one creative reference there from Leonardo da Vinci, which I was quite pleased about. Anyway, with all that said and done, in short, Occam's razor encourages critical thinking, encourages skepticism and the pursuit of elegant, straightforward explanations. When thinking critically, Occam's razor reminds us to prioritise simplicity and avoid unnecessary complexity when analysing and making sense of the world that surrounds us. Truth is ever to be found in the simplicity and not in the multiplicity and confusion of things. Isaac Newton, unquote. So Occam's razor, with its elegant simplicity, shall I call it that, acts as a guiding principle that cuts through the tangled webs of complexity, and it urges us to embrace the simplest explanations. In a world filled with countless possibilities and intricate theories, Occam's razor sharpens our minds to differentiate the essential from the superfluous, revealing the beauty and efficiency that lie within the realm of simplicity. By embracing Occam's razor, we can unlock the power to unravel puzzles, to make better judgments, and to navigate the complexities of life with razor-sharp clarity. Occam's razor for me, by the way, just as a wee additional to my notes, is just another perfect tool for the toolbox of high-level thinking and critical thinking, like I've been talking about this season. So do use it in your life, do apply it, and I think you'll find that maybe you'll worry a little bit less, you'll think a little bit less. Let me give you one example of, in fact, something that happened yesterday. I turned down a job. I was offered a job on a high-end TV show, and they were offering me, I might have talked about this in the season already, I'm not sure. They offered me 2/3 of my usual rate, and I hummed and hawed. I'd worked with them before, I wanted to help them, and I considered it. And I thought, they're a high-end TV show. This is daft. This is the lowest amount of money I've been offered in 14 months. So I wrote to them and said, look, I'm willing to negotiate with you, but I'm not willing to do it for that money. And I took about 2 hours to write the email. You know, to write a simple email that doesn't offend people, that gets your point across. And I laid down the reasons why I didn't want to do it for as little as that. And I sent that email off. Never heard from them again. And I was thinking all these theories that, you know, I'd offended the guy when I'd knocked back the job, or he'd got angry at me and he'd went and got, you know, a competitor or somebody to do it. And I worried about it. I worried about it for a week and a half, 2 weeks. I got an email from him yesterday. He hadn't even opened my email. Hadn't even looked at it. He'd opened it but not read it. He didn't even know I'd knocked it back. And the email was to say that the day's been cancelled. I'm no longer required. So I was sitting worrying for 2 weeks, thinking all these scenarios through about how I'd potentially messed up a relationship with somebody who's a semi-regular employer. It's turned out they hadn't even read it. That's Occam's razor. That's the simplest explanation. They had opened my email. They were just too busy. They didn't read it. That was it. Anyway, I went off on one there. Occam's razor, good thing to bear in mind. And put simply, it says that the simplest explanation or solution is most likely the one to be correct. Okay, so let's just end that one there. Thanks again for listening to the show. If you are enjoying it, I'd really appreciate it if you would go on to Apple Podcast. I nearly forgot the name of it, Apple Podcasts, and leave a review there. It's very, very important to rank on Apple Podcasts. That's what helps push the show up. I've given up on promoting the show on social media. I do interact on social media there, though, so if you've got a question, go to @FilmProProdPod on Twitter, or go to Facebook @FilmProProductivity. You can send me a message, but the best way to get a message to me is go to the website, filmproproductivity.com, go to contact, and there's a thing there. I must check that it still works. It's called SpeakPipe, and basically you can pick up your phone, hit SpeakPipe, and you can leave me a voice message, and I'll get that, and I can respond to you on there. So check that one out. Going off on one. What was I talking about? Yeah, leave a review if you can on Apple Podcasts, or if you prefer, leave it on Facebook. These are both good places that will help the show to get more recognition. And there was something else I was going to say, but I can't remember what it is. I'm sure it was absolutely fascinating, though, and maybe I'll remember that by the time I record the next show. In the meantime, I think let's end with a quote from Steve Jobs, which kind of goes along with all this. He said, "That's one of my mantras, focus and simplicity. Simple can be harder than complex. You have to work hard to get your thinking clean to make it simple, but it's worth it in the end. Because once you get there, you can move mountains." Now take control of your own destiny, keep on shooting, and join me next time, folks, on Film Pro Productivity and Success. And the music that you're listening to right now is Adventures by Himitsu. You can also view the show notes for this episode. Show notes, my voice went off there. Check it out on the official website, filmproproductivity.com. Interact with me on social media if you wish. Check out Film Pro Productivity on Facebook or Twitter @FilmProProdPod. But for now, just keep supporting the show by subscribing, spreading the word, and do leave an awesome review if you get a minute. Cheers. I went a bit quick there. Bye.